Kevin Michael Rudd was born on September 21st, 1957 in Nambour, Queensland. He was born to a family of 3 children and his mother and father, Margaret and Albert Rudd, with him being the youngest of the 4 children. From 5 years old to 7 years old, he contracted rheumatic fever. This fever caused damage to his heart, particularly his valves. When Rudd grew up, he boarded at Brisbane's Marist College, Ashgrove. When he became an adult, he was elected Australian Prime Minister in 2007, 2010 and again in 2013. He was well known for his sorry speech, apologising to the Aboriginal people for the wrongdoings that his European ancestors brung upon the Aborigines. John Winston Howard was born on July the 26th, 1939. John, much like Kevin, was the 4th son in his family. His parents were Lyle and Mona Howard. John grew up in Earlwood, Sydney. In his early years, John suffered from a hearing problem, which caused him to develop a speech impediment. From this day, he continues to wear a hearing aid. John went to school at Earlwood Primary High School and then went on to Canterbury Boys High School. In his last year at Earlwood, he was awarded a Citizenship Prize. He studied law at the University of Sydney and graduated in 1961. When he grew up, he became the 2nd longest running Prime Minister of Australia, reigning from the 11th of March 1969 to December 3rd, 2007. This was only topped by Sir Robert Menzies, who served for 18 years as Prime Minister of Australia before he was forced to resign. What was the difference between Howard and Rudd's Aboriginal attitudes? Kevin Rudd was elected Australian Prime Minister in 2007. On February the 13th, 2008, he apologised with a speech sorry to the Aborigines. This was widely applauded by both Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal citizens in Australia. John Howard thought that his speech was not the right thing to do, and that one generation could not apologise for the actions of another. He went on to say that some of the children had been removed from their parents for good reason, and others were given up voluntarily, and that the apology was a mistake. Most people did not share Howard's view, but they did follow Rudd's. While Howard was sympathetic towards the Aborigines, he believed that what the previous ancestors of the European Australians had done to the stolen generation could not be apologised for. Here is a small part from his speech. I move that today we honour the Indigenous peoples of this land, the oldest continuing cultures in human history. We reflect on their past mistreatment. We reflect in particular on the mistreatment of those who were the stolen generation. This blemish chapter in our nation's history. The time has now come for the nation to turn a new page in Australia's history, by righting the wrongs of the past and so moving forward with confidence to the future. We apologise for the laws and policies of successive parliaments and governments that have inflicted profound grief, suffering and loss on these fellow Australians. We apologise especially for the removal of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children from their families, their communities and their country. For the pain, suffering and hurt of the stolen generations, their descendants, and for their families left behind, we say sorry. To the mothers and the fathers, the brothers and the sisters, for the breaking up of families and communities, we say sorry. And for the indignity and degradation thus inflicted on a proud people and a proud culture, we say sorry. We, the Parliament of Australia, respectfully request this apology be received in the spirit in which it is offered, as part of the healing of our nation. For the future we take heart, resolving that this is a new page in the history of our great continent can now be written. We take this first step by acknowledging the past and laying claim to the future that embraces all Australians. Why did Kevin Rudd apologise to the Aboriginals? From the years 1909 to 1969, Aboriginal children were forcibly removed from their families and taken into European Australian hands. The Australian government at the time believed the Aboriginal people were at risk of themselves and that they needed a better education, a loving family and a more civilised upbringing among an adopted white family or a government institution for Aboriginal children. On February the 13th, 2008, Kevin Rudd decided was enough is enough and that he would apologise to the families of the stolen generations. Truthfully, most of the Aboriginal children would grow up to become farmhands or domestic slaves, helping the European Australians with cleaning and working on farms, harvesting crops and so on. His sorry speech was taken very well and helped the Aborigines move on with the help of National Reconciliation Week, which has been active since 1996. National Reconciliation Week aims to give people across Australia the opportunity to focus on reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians. National Reconciliation Week is held between two very important dates for Australia, May the 27th and June the 3rd.